Boom. What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of the Shadowproof Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Shadowproof Podcast. You already know what we're about, raw and uncut. Tonight I got my boy Kyle. He's going to be on this with me. This is my first video of podcast. I've been asked a lot. I think it's good, not only for you guys to see my face, but see my boys, even though he looks like, he's under interrogation right now. Me and Kyle are good friends, but he's been listening to my podcast. He's my one of my day one listeners. So we are here. We are going to we're going to piggyback a little bit off the last episode about boundaries in relationships, family, and friendships. I think that's important because now you get not only to see my perspective, but also a perspective of somebody that's close to me and, a different perspective for some, right? We talk about that because you guys heard me talk about boundaries aren't meant to like break down relationships or push people away. They're meant to heal. They're meant to build relationships, break cycles, things of that nature. So again, talking about boundaries, relationships, families, and friendships, and that's not always easy, especially when we've been doing the same thing for a really long time, and now we're trying to not only better ourselves, but put ourselves in more positive spaces. So, without further ado, my boy Kyle, we here. Before we get into it, Kyle, just tell the listeners real quick before we get into that, you already know, like, share, subscribe. It's your,
Yes,
it's, it's
sir.
your, it's your boy Coach Jose. You know what I'm saying? Your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. You know what I'm saying? Like, share, subscribe. Please check me out. The more people we touch, the better. So, without further ado, Kyle, do me a favor, man. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you do, and why this topic matters to you.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Listen, my name's Kyle. I'm 26 years old. I'm one of eight kids. I've lived a decent life right now, and I have my own battles, and most people aren't willing to talk about them. That I talk about my own battles on a daily basis to many people of all different lives. I mean, there's different ways of life on everyone, and I learn a little bit about other people's lives and pretty much how me and Jose ended up being friends. We have similar walks of life, two different ages. Shoot, I think he's like 102 now, but it is what it is. I ain't gonna hate on
102
him
is
for
diabolical.
it. But uh listen, I've learned a lot about boundaries, still working and building. When it comes down to relationships, friendships, even down to your own blood, like boundaries are a constant battle, and learning how to build from the last boundary you made to the new one you're making. And
Sure.
it's an you're always learning. Like there is never a time you just, oh, hey, I got it all figured out. You never have it figured out. And if you can't learn anymore, you become ignorant. And for your mental health, your boundaries, anything in that manner like that, and that's what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of times, people hear that term, boundary. I'm setting a boundary, and they look at it as a negative, right? I mean, you heard me
Yeah,
talk about it in my last podcast. It's like, oh, this person's being selfish. He's cold-hearted, or he or she's cold-hearted, controlling. All those things, pushing people away. And I guess I used to think that too, to an extent. But in reality, you're protecting yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like me,
yeah,
many of you guys know that's been watching me or that know me personally. Kyle, I know like I've been on this road and this journey of changing my whole mental, way of looking at things and dealing with situations. And 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 it is to protect myself. It's protecting myself from the toxicity that could bring me back to that place, bring me back to that place or that feeling or that those reactions that are really, I, at the end of the day, they're not worth it, right? At the end of the day, we pour our time and energy into people that don't deserve it, right? And sometimes you got to separate those two. You got to put those, you got to put you got to set those boundaries in order to be able to eliminate yourself from situations and not continue the same thing. I'm not trying to punish nobody. I'm trying to protect me. I'm trying to put myself in a better place, and that's not always easy. And sometimes that's walking away from a situation. Sometimes that's saying, "Hey, we're gonna talk about this later." Sometimes that's a lot of things, right? It's really to preserve the relationship because if me and you have a disagreement and I take deep offense to it, or you take deep offense to it, and I react, I could kill our friendship because I reacted over something that might not even have been that deep. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? And I do that. Like I have a lot of times, and you and I know some people that egos are a little bit bigger than than it should be, and when you have those conversations with certain people, we have to understand that not everybody's accepting of what you're going to communicate, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand that some people ain't going to see it, right? And you can't, just because we feel like somebody ain't going to see it doesn't mean you stop. You don't set the boundary. You don't keep moving forward. You don't communicate because you're just enabling bad behavior, and that just creates a domino effect of problems in a friendship, in a relationship, with your mom, with your dad, with your sisters, with your whoever. You know what I'm saying? It with
And
coworkers.
you forgot one. And sometimes it's with yourself.
Absolutely.
And and I'll tell you, I won't ever forget it. And it was I learned it the best, and it was from you when we took that one trip. And I was talking about just everything going on, and you told me, you're like, dude, you need to set a boundary with yourself because I'm a big person and I like to help people. And I started learning how to still be able to help people because it's something I enjoy. But man, it was a boundary I had to learn to take care of myself before I take care of others, because I was taking care of others to feel better about the wrong that was going on in my life. I was blocking out that time, and then by the time I needed to actually get around to do it because I'm now in crunch time, dude, I now I'm stressed out. Now my anxiety's high. Now drowning in my own thoughts. I'm like, this ain't
Can't
it. And you're
focus.
like,
Can't
yeah.
focus.
And I
You
had to
can't
set
focus.
that boundary of taking my own time before taking the time to help others. And I
That's
still
a
help others to this day.
that's a great example because a lot of times, it's twofold. Like you said, we do it because we don't want to face our own shadows, right? We don't want to face our own problems. We don't want to face our own situations. And then the other part of that is sometimes we do it and we don't realize we're hurting ourselves because we're not trying to face our own problems, or we're trying to keep busy because we're dealing with some or so many things. But we never realize that I can never give you as a friend 100% if I'm messed up. Right? I can't give you as a boyfriend, a husband, a father, a son. I can't give you 100% if I'm messed up. So we have to
Yeah.
remember that's a huge boundary, and I'm gonna say arguably the hardest boundaries to set is the boundaries that we need to set for ourselves. Because if we don't do that, we ain't no good to anybody. Think about how stress and anxiety and depression and all that stuff like affects every aspect of our lives, right? Every aspect. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that. Like, and so that's, I'm glad you pointed that out because I did forget that. And that is probably the one of the most, if not the most important boundary that we set. But without further ado, we got some questions for my boy Kyle that we're going to elaborate on. This honestly, these questions are not only for Kyle, but only for also for myself. I'm going to elaborate on from my perspective also. I hope you guys, enjoy. This might be a little longer than our usual set, but hopefully this is one of many. So, first question. So, Kyle, when you hear the word boundary or the term boundary, what what comes up for you personally?
So when I hear the word boundary, like, you know, at first it's kind of like a trigger. It's like, man, I have to, and then especially when it can't comes down to my like family, which, and I'm now going back to the older version of myself when I used to hear it. It was more like a man, what, I don't want to upset someone. I don't want to upset my aunt. I don't want to upset my dad. I don't want to upset my mom. But hearing that word boundary when it came up, it was like because friends would tell me, "Yo, you need to set a boundary with so and so." Because I'd tell them the story, and they're like, "I'm like, yeah, but that's my family. I can't do that." And over time, at first, it was just like a trigger. It's like you're trying to pull me away from my family, which and no, it's not what they're doing. They're trying to help me come to realize what the bigger picture was. Now it's anytime I hear a boundary, I'm like, and it depends on the context. Honestly, it's depends on who it comes from and whether it comes from myself or it comes from a friend. Now it's like, okay, someone, whether it comes from someone, they see something I don't see, and they're like, hey, you need to start setting a boundary for this because that ain't good for you. And it's like, okay, I didn't see it in your eyes. But then when it's for myself, when I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I need to start setting this boundary for X, Y, and Z. It's that boundary is needed in order for me to become a better version of me for everyone around me.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things you said was you used to say, and I think we could all attest or agree to that is I can't set this boundary because it's my family, or I can't set this boundary because this is a close friend, right? That word, that term, first of all, I even with my sons, like I've always said, don't ever say you can't, right? And I hate the word, I despise the
Yeah.
word I can't,
Yeah.
right? Right. So I don't even like to say it in my vocabulary. Is I can't is like, you know, it's just crazy. Like there should be no I can't. If you really put your mind to it, if you really work on it, you could do anything. I truly believe that. But we say that, and I think that does more damage to us internally than we actually realize. Because unfortunately, even family take advantage of that because they know that it's going to be harder for us to set that boundary. And even not only family, when people are so used to Jose, Kyle, whoever, oh, they're going to come through for me. They're going to do this no matter what. They are going to, unfortunately, sometimes people take advantage of that, right? And I've had so many conversations over the years, and just even over the last 2 years, I think about things I've dealt with personally, and I'd call and reach out to somebody, or I didn't call because I'm a lot like Kyle. So me and Kyle are bonded because I do see a lot of my not only my present self but also my younger self. When we took a trip a couple months back, but is that we shut down. We don't want to call anybody. We don't want to deal with anybody. We don't want to talk with anybody. And I think a lot of that comes from a space where we don't want to feel like we're burdening anyone.
A
And
hundred percent.
and we kind of shut down. And, I mean, Kyle knows I'll call him and be like, hey, bro, you good? Like, what's going on? Whatever, whatever. But I remember having those same, like, I remember I'd call somebody or whatever. And the first thing they would say is, oh, like, I haven't heard from you, or just start bashing me for not being present. Right. And then when I express like what I got going on, it's like, they don't care about what's going on. They're listening to you, but they're more upset at the fact that you weren't present for them. And I used to be like, damn, how can somebody be so heartless? Like somebody's, somebody you allegedly care about, right? Or quote unquote love or whatever it is telling you like, yo, they're in a bad headspace and they're dealing with some deep shit. And their first reaction is they're more concerned about what you didn't do for them than what you're actually going through. And so I say that to say, think we forget about that when the situation's reversed, right? It doesn't matter what we got going on. We stop what we doing. We put it on the back burner to go help and be there for whoever because we feel obligated. And I'm going to ask you this. I know it's not part of the part of the questions that we've been discussing, but I'm actually curious to know because I know my answer, but I'm
Yeah.
curious to know your answer. Do you think that we react that way because we come from a space of we don't want to disappoint? We do that because we don't want to disappoint whoever that person is. And do you do that because you don't want to disappoint whoever that person is? And do you feel like if you do it, you're going to feel like you're going to feel like a failure because you didn't do whatever, you didn't stop what you were doing to go attend to this situation? Do you feel like, is that your perception? Is that your
So
feeling?
so now, yeah, I still have that feeling. Old me would have said 100% that exactly is what it is. But I've learned now that when we're having those feelings of, oh, I'm going to disappoint them, this, that, and the third, and it's like, hey, all right, you know what? Like, let's say, hey, someone calls me and they're like, I need some help. Can you get over here and come help me? Now it's instead of going, yeah, I'll be there in 15. Let me figure out something. I'll be right there. It's, hey, actually, I'm in the middle of something. I can get over there in about an hour and give you a hand, and I got about 30 minutes. But that's all I can. And now in my head, I'm not going to disappoint. I will try my best to help you because if I keep pushing off all my shit, um, I I'm gonna put it on the back burner, and then when I'm actually down in the dumps and I'm now in my sorrows and everything else, now I
Nobody
feel like
shows
even
up.
more, no one ever shows up. But then two, I'm useless. I'm now trying to pick up this mountain I left behind just to go help someone else when I could have dealt with each little hill each time and still gave a helping hand. Like I called or they called on me and I was there. But I can only delegate so much time because at the end of the day, you got to still take care of you. So like old me, yeah, definitely. That's how I felt. I would jump up, I would run, and I mean leave all my stuff behind. I mean,
Well, think about what you're sacrificing when you do
yeah.
that, right? I know, ladies, Kyle is single in case you want. I got his number. Just send me a message.
Yeah,
No, but
listen.
think about what you're sacrificing when you do that though, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
and when I say sacrificing, right, you're sacrificing obviously your own stuff, your own things that you got going on, but you're also sacrificing people that really need you versus a one-off situation where, yeah, obviously the person needs you or needs something from you, hence why they're calling you or reaching out to you, but their situation, not to minimize, but it might not be as extravagant. So you're sacrificing so much because no matter what, and at the end of the day, we can't break ourselves in 15 and be in 15 different places all the time. For me, yeah, I'm gonna say it's still hard to set that boundary, and that comes from, for me, it comes from a space of I don't like to disappoint anybody, right? I don't like to feel like a
Yeah.
failure. When I don't know something, I have to dissect it to the root so I can understand it and be able to be an asset. I've always been like that. But obviously that comes from a lot deeper situations, which is not the topic of the show right now. But but moral of the story is I had to learn, like you said, right? Like today, it's not necessarily that it's still not hard for me. It's just more I'm okay with, like, I really don't care if you get upset. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what, if you can't understand that I just can't make this happen for you right now because of what I got going on, and because it's not that my stuff is more important, which, fuck it, it is more important
No,
to
it is
me,
more. Yeah, I was gonna
right?
say
It
it
is
is
more
more.
important to me, but I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not in a space where, like, if you get disappointed, like, I'm sorry, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of something. I'll be, like you said, I'm not saying I won't be there. I'm just saying I can't be there. I can't drop everything I'm doing right now to be there. And
yeah,
I'm okay with that, right? And that's part of setting the boundary, right? Being okay with that.
yeah.
So so how do you think, I mean, obviously me and you've been talking for a minute, and a lot,
Yeah.
we talk about a lot of stuff, but do you think that you can you say that you grew up around healthy boundaries, or did you is something that you had to learn?
Um, it was definitely something I had to learn. There, don't get me wrong, there was some healthy because now boundaries are a huge thing. I did get some healthy boundaries while growing up, but then also like looking back, there were some bad boundaries that were like, yo, this is not acceptable. Like, why so and so do this and they thought this was all right. Like, I don't find it all right nowadays. And those boundaries still apply to them, but when it comes down to me, that's not me. And nowadays I make it very clear, hey, look, this is how it is. And I mean, when it comes down to family, friends, anything, and mainly family. I mean, when I have a boundary set in place with like especially my family, like I still love them and I will love them till the day I die. But if I have a boundary set up and they know it, and it's like I'll give you an example is I don't argue. I'll have a conversation with you. We can disagree to disagree all day long. But one of my things is I can't I can't communicate with you properly if you're just having a piss and match and it's you just want to yell and say everything under the sun. Well, one of my boundaries is I'm to protect my energy. I will literally tell them, hey, if we can't have a conversation, I'm gonna see my way out. I'll catch you another day. I love you, and we can have this conversation and pick up later.
That's hard. That's
Because
hard for people to understand right there.
yeah, and I'll tell you, I remember your one podcast when and I grew up the same. And as soon as I say it, you're gonna remember is being able to watch your family argue. I mean, whether it's you and your sister, you and your brother, your mom and dad argue, then someone turns, whether it's your mom or your dad, getting mad at you, and the whole house is turmoil. 30 minutes later goes by, hey, dinner's ready. Everyone's sitting around the table, lovey dovey. And it's like, no one remember what happened 30 minutes ago?
It's
Like,
like
we
that's
gonna
a
talk
Tuesday.
about that?
That
Yeah.
was a Tuesday in my house.
Yeah. So like and that wasn't healthy and it built the wrong boundaries for me to where like, and I mean, it built a life with one of my exes where there was at a point where she'd get mad at me, and even a couple of them, she'd get mad at me, and I don't really get mad back. I'll have a conversation, but I'll walk away for 15 minutes, come back like nothing happened. And she'll be like, yo, did you not remember what just happened? And like, you just think everything's okay and kosher? I'm like, yeah, we had the conversation. We're good. And no, we're not good. We still have more conversation to have. I'm like, oh, like, and that tore up one of my relationships because I learned a bad way of things. And now I've built because I see it affecting my life to where now I have different boundaries. And that's like one of them when it comes down to arguments. Now we're gonna sit here and have a conversation. And then once we have a conversation, we're gonna walk away understanding each other. Not necessarily saying I'm right, you're right.
You have to, we have to, and that's the problem is I think a lot of times in anything, in relationships, in whatever is people like to leave unresolved issues, whether it comes
Yeah.
from an insecurity, which is for it's funny because fuck it. I remember so I it's funny because having conversations with people, you could tell like when you're like, hey, like we need to have a conversation about this. Like we need to talk about this. Cause in my mind, right, I'm in a space today where I'm like, hey, I don't like leaving unresolved shit. Like if I got a problem, I may not talk about it. Like you said, I'm not gonna talk because I don't want to argue about it. But once I let it marinate for a couple of days and or whatever, a couple hours, whatever it may be, I want to have a conversation. And it's crazy how some people respond in a way where, yo, I'm good. You ain't nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
And and I think about that. Like I think about like, okay, well, what makes a person respond in that manner? Like to me, and this is my perception, obviously it's not a reality. I don't know, right? Because I think, the individuals that this has happened with me with will never admit to it. But I think I look at it as either you're you can't take accountability for your actions, and that's one thing we have to learn, right? We have to learn that I talk about this all the time with my groups and my one-on-ones is, accountability is the biggest thing, right? If Kyle was to call me tomorrow and be like, hey, I didn't like the way you came out, I didn't like the way you acted, whatever, whatever, or what you said, I'm not going to be like, I don't even know why the hell you feel that way. I'm going to say, damn, hey, listen, that wasn't my intention. You know, I can see how you felt that way, but let's talk about it. Or even if you did interpret it the right way, but hey, let's talk about why I felt that way or why I reacted that way, right? But it's still assuming accountability for your actions. I feel like people respond that way when they don't want to take accountability for their actions and they absolutely think that there was nothing wrong with what they did. And that just shows me today, I'm not saying, old me, but I think I know that shows me today that you're you just never going to take accountability for your actions, and I already could tell this is going to hinder or put a strain on our, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, whatever, because it's only so much I'm going to be able to deal with that. I have conversation with friends, what we call brothers, right, or whatever, where right, where it's like, yo, like you coming at me the wrong way, or you're seeing this the wrong way, or whatever the situation may be, and I'm just like, I feel like eventually it's going to be a strain on me because I'm human, bro. And even though I'm the new and improved, whatever, better in a better headspace, I still will snap the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to do that because, and that's why it's so
Yeah.
important. I say all that not because I'm trying to, pick on nobody or pinpoint any specific situation. It's just I say that because those are examples of why it's so important to set the boundary, right? Because then I have to put said person, right, whether it's a female, a male, or whoever, I have to set you in a different box because now, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna mess with you no more. It's not means I'm gonna, it's just I gotta deal with you a little bit differently because you're toxic for my space. You know what I'm saying? You're toxic for my space, and I have to deal with you that way. I think I said that in the last. I think I said that in multiple podcasts already. But that's important because so many times we allow we and you know what drives me crazy today is when people tell me I'm so tired of dealing with this from this person because like in my groups or with my clients, I ask the question. I'm like, was this the first time this has happened? Obviously, it's not. If you're saying you're tired, you can just be tired from the first time, right? So,
Yeah.
so they're like, no, and I'm like, well, what'd you do every other time? Nothing. Did you talk about it? No. Did you say something? Did you tell them that it was a bother? Did you tell them that it was bothering you? No. Well, you enabled this situation. So that's the accountability part you got to take. It doesn't mean I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling the way you feel. I'm just saying you've created this monster, right? And then you got the flip side of that where I'm telling you, okay, now Jose, the new Jose is trying to have a conversation with you and tell you, hey, I'm not cool with your reaction to me. I'm not cool how you're treating me. And you keep doing the shit. So now I gotta move you in a different box. And when I say I said it last time, just because I say you graduated, that shit ain't always good. You might have graduated to a box where you don't want to be. Anyway, not to
Yeah.
ramble on, but that's a good point. And the reason I went into all that is because understanding boundaries, whether it's family, whether it's whoever, it's important to understand that it comes from a space of protection and helping you to be in a better place. Because if you're not in a good place, you're not good for nobody. You know what I'm saying? So when
No.
it so what will you think? What boundary with family specifically that you had to learn to set on your own on your own life?
What boundary
Yeah.
did I have to
What
s
boundary?
so
What boundary with family that you had to learn to set in your own life?
so I'll give you an example of a boundary, and it's with one particular person that is an alcoholic and love this person to death. But as I told him, like this is just a boundary, and this is boundaries are all different shapes and sizes. But I sat and I was talking to him. I was like, I ain't gonna get mad at you for drinking anymore. I said, I won't. I said, I'm just not gonna be around as much when you are drinking. When you're sober, I'm gonna enjoy you, but I'm not gonna get mad at you for drinking. If I come around and you're drinking, I'm gonna keep my distance, and that's what it's gonna be. But I'm not gonna be upset with you anymore because the last thing I want is for the day that you go because of your drinking, you're gonna be laying in a box. And the last conversation we had was an argument about you drinking. I'm not gonna accept that. So I'm enjoying my time that I have with you while you're sober. Other than that, when you're drinking, I gotta part ways and I can't be around you. And that's just a respectful boundary that I created with family. And don't get me wrong, it's hard. And especially when they call you up. And listen, when you're an alcoholic, all your emotions come, your emotions all over the place, and they call you up, even because they are battling a bad headspace, and they call you up like, listen, I feel this type of way. I'm not okay, and I can't really talk to you because come tomorrow morning, there's not much for me to do. You won't even remember the conversation. And as much as I feel bad, but I'm not gonna go jump to them because I've had it happen before to where they call me up and they're like, I'm going through this. I need to talk to someone. And it's like, I can't do that mentally. So I built that boundary. When you're drinking, I can't help you. If you come to me when you're not drinking and you're sober, I got you all day. I'll help you as long as I have the time to be able to help you. Because there has been times, and I will say, and this is just an alcoholic for you, is they call me up, hey, can you come give me a hand this weekend or this day? And it's like, I already got things planned out. Well, I'm not drinking. Well, listen, I appreciate you not drinking. I'm happy for you, but don't do it just because of me. Do it because you don't want to drink and you want to better yourself. But I also got to
Absolutely.
take care of this before I can come and give you a hand. And it is what it is. And I'll see you when I'm done what I'm doing, and I'll be over there. We'll sit down, chit chat, talk about whatever you're going through, and maybe play a game or two. But I gotta take care of me before I can take care of others. There's a reason they tell you, hey, when these masks drop from above you while you're on a plane, put yours on before helping the person next to you, even if it's your daughter or your son.
That's
Because
real.
what good are you passing out and
That's
trying to
real
help
right there.
someone?
That's real right
It
there. That's real right there. And one of the key things there is, which I think is one of the main topics I think everybody's really curious about is how to set a boundary with how to set a boundary not with, but how to set a boundary without blowing up a relationship. And I think you touched on it in what you talked about, about the alcoholic. Um, I think the first thing we have to do, or I know the first thing we have to do is get clear to ourselves what we're trying to accomplish, right? Before we speak, we have to think, right? Because just like reacting, we have to think our way out of situations, not react our way out of situations. And I think a lot of times we get those two very, very confused because we allow emotions to take over and take the wheel. And I think at that moment we shouldn't do that because we have to understand, okay, what is the behavior in this case, the person drinking, right? Why does it matter to them? Why does it matter so much? And how it affects you and what will happen if it continues. So this is the part that's very, very difficult. It's easy to say you're going to set a boundary. It's simple. I know that's crazy because we've been talking how hard it is to quote unquote set boundaries, but it's easy to say something. It's easy to say, okay, well, if you do this, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to. So if you come to me and you need help and you're drinking, I'm not going to help you. But then if you don't stand on your boundary, then you shouldn't. You're really wasting your time, right? Because that's important, right? The boundary and you standing on that boundary and not. And I'm not saying there's not instances where obviously you have to you have to bend a little bit because of the situation, right? I know that's just case by case. It's
yeah
not one size fits all type shit. But
yeah it's not
the reality is that we have to stand on that boundary, right? You know, for me, it's a lot easier today, right? Because I think if we think about those three things, right? What's the behavior that needs to change? Why is that important to me? Not why it's important to them, right? Why is that important to me? And then standing on that boundary, now I can communicate, right? Because if it's me and you in the situation, you're the person who has the alcohol problem.
yeah
It's not you people have to understand for all you listeners, right? We have to understand that our approach is it's not only what we say, but how we say it. So there's a difference of me having this conversation with Colin saying, hey, bro, you need to stop drinking because I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of dealing with it. You just irrational. You just come out wrong way. Like, you're already putting the person on the defensive. You ain't giving you ain't setting a safe space.
Yeah. And then on top of that, let's maybe an alcoholic. Listen, my emotions are all over the place. So now I feel like I'm being attacked. So it's now
Exactly.
this conversation has gone nowhere. I couldn't truly get my point across to set this boundary with, well, you setting this boundary with me because now this just blew up. And instead of it being a little poppet that you throw on the ground, it was an M80 that got thrown in the
And
trash
you
can.
just blew everything up
Yeah.
because you
And
don't know because people don't know how to communicate. I hear people all the time saying, "Oh, I'm gonna say this,"
yeah.
and that we got to take our ego out of the situation.
Yeah, and
We
when I set that boundary, it's like, and I used reassuring words like, "Listen, I love you, and I don't want nothing to happen to you, but this is just what I have to do because I can't be around it, and I don't want to my last time on earth because listen, it can be anyone's time any day of the week. It don't matter how old you are, how healthy you are, or nothing. You can go." And that was
tomorrow's
that
not
boundary
promised.
because I'll tell you, I take death like and especially death. Like death is hard for me. When someone dies and now other people, it might be like a goldfish dying when their mother passes and they're like, oh, listen, it sucks, it's life. Yeah, I can be that way when I don't have that emotional bond, but when I have that emotional bond, I love and I care for that person, death's gonna hurt. And the last thing I need is on top of the grief and going through that is knowing my last conversation was an argument and I was pissed off with that person. Like,
Absolutely.
so you got to take care of yourself and set those boundaries because even if they hurt and you got to stand on them because especially with the alcoholic in my life, when I was when I was trying to set that boundary before, but I never had this conversation with him, he started picking up on it and then would start using other excuses to try to get me to come and be there with them. And and they would work on me. But then when I finally sat, like, and I'll tell you, they were drinking that day. Maybe not as heavily as normal, but they were drinking. And I had that conversation with them and they understand that boundary and they have tried to push the limit. I stand on it now to where now when that goes on, unless it's life threatening, I don't get a call, which I'm completely okay with. Completely okay because
Well, now it's understood. And see,
yeah,
that's the importance, and that's the key right there, right? The key right there is eventually people are going to try to push the envelope, right? They're
yeah,
going to see if you're really going to stand on it. And when you don't, they eventually get the picture. So it goes back to conversations and how we approach the conversation, how we approach because when we put a person on the defensive, it's like talking to somebody that shuts down or gets defensive. Well, they're shutting down again in defensive because of your approach. And I can't tell you how many times a week. I'm not gonna say a week. That's a little far fetched, but how many times I say a lot. I say I use it a lot. Like, hey, it's not what you're saying; it's your approach, right? To
yeah,
multiple people, to multiple people, and it's like I think it's hard for people to recognize, especially when somebody else has, whether it's a lot of things on their mind or going through some stuff or there's no secret like I think I've talked about in podcasts, my PTSD. Like I think that people forget that sometimes and they think that their approach, we have to understand what's offensive to you may not be offensive to me. What's disrespectful to you may not be disrespectful to me, and vice versa, right? So just because that approach, like I give you my sons, I could approach my youngest son, I could approach my oldest son differently than I approach my youngest son. So my youngest son will shut down. He'll automatically get on the defensive. My oldest son, sometimes he needs that. I'm not saying it's always a good thing or he always needs that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the conversations are different, right? So it's like read the room. Read the room. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what's going to offend them. And I think a lot of people minimize. It's quick to minimize that feeling that, oh, well, you shouldn't be offended. That's not what I meant. I understand that's not what you meant, but this is how I perceived it. This is how I interpret it. Remember, you guys hear me saying a million on my podcast, you're responsible for what you say. You're not responsible for how people interpret it, but you are responsible to make sure they understand what you're exactly trying to get across. So we have to learn to read the room. We have to learn to approach things differently. And I can't approach certain things with Kyle like I approach with certain things with other friends in our circle because one, I may not have the same relationship. Two, obviously it's a totally different personality. And that's where you have to have emotional intelligence. That's it right there. You have to have
Yeah.
emotional intelligence. And if you don't, you just all fucked up. But let's shift a little bit. I know
Yeah.
we've been talking about family a little
Yeah.
a bit much. So let's talk about friendships. So how do you maintain friendships while also protecting your emotional energy?
Honestly, and I tell a lot of people, and I have a friend, and this one's not even in a circle. This is one I've known for years. That they've hit me a few times with the yo, like I always call you, you never call me, and I'm like, man, I don't do that on purpose. It's not that I don't think about you, because most of the time when I feel like calling people, it's at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yo, how are they doing? Oh, I need to call them. But I ain't gonna call. Listen, Remy, I ain't calling you at 12 o'clock in the morning. You'll wake up, roll over in bed, be like, what the hell do you want? I'd be like, oh, no, I was just checking on you. You'd be like, I'm going to bed. Don't call me
You
again.
call you call me at 12 o'clock in the morning. Somebody better be dying because
Yeah.
I'm running
But
around the street with my gun. Like, what the fuck we need? Who do we need to kill?
yeah, but like that buddy, going back to that, like he literally, he's like, yo, like, what's up? I feel like our friendship is just one sided. I said it's not like it's not like you live right down the street where I can just swing in real quick and be like, yo, what's up? Listen, we
Absolutely.
hours apart. So yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not hard to pick up that phone and make the phone call, but when I gotta go, I gotta go. And if I can't pick up, it's not that I'm being mean or I don't care about you or nothing. It's I got a million other things that I'm doing. I'll pick up that call, but I can't stay long. I've been trying to communicate with them because I mean I've had him lash out on me. He's like he just get all upset and mad, and it's instead of just throwing a pop it on the ground, he turned it into a damn M80, and it's like, man, that's not how you need to be. Like, and I've had him hang up the phone, mad at me as all hell. 5 minutes later, he calls back, still mad. I'm like, look, dude, this is what it is. And I've set boundaries. I've set boundaries. This is something that happened a couple months ago. I'm like, yo, if this is how you're gonna react, and this is what you're gonna do, I'll see myself out because I don't need to be lashed out at just because I don't pick up the phone. If you call me 5 times in a day and I only pick it up once or only talk to you once, or even if I just call you just to call you back, and just because I only called you back once out of the day when you call me five, don't get mad at me for that. There's no need for that. I'm still here. You call me and text me and go, "Hey, it's an emergency, dude. I'm bouncing. I'm driving those hours away to come help you, your family, your kids, whatever need it. Like if there's something that wrong, yeah, I will drop it if it's a good enough emergency, and I'll be there. That's a friend, and I've tried to explain that to him. Like I'm there regardless, but because I'm not there to talk to you 100% of the time doesn't mean I'm a piece of shit friend. Like
I
I
think I
just have
think a
other
lot
things.
I think a lot of people look at it. So I'm gonna agree with you and I'm gonna disagree, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna explain why. A lot of people will perceive or have the perception, not that they, and I'm not saying this is the case with this individual, I'm just saying in a grand scheme of things. People make time for what they think is important to them, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say to you is find out the why, right? Why is it so important to this individual that you reach out? And the other part of that is when you do find out, because it might be something that maybe you're not aware of, the person's afraid or ashamed or whatever you want to call it to. And if it's a dude, I'm gonna tell you what, that's not one of the hardest things. I mean, you and I both know this. One of the hardest things for men to admit that when they got something wrong, when they got something wrong, how to deal with it. So I would definitely say it's important for you to find out because you never know what could be going through that person's mind, right? It's a different situation. Now I'm getting into the whole psychological part and
Yeah.
trainings I have and all that stuff. Like, how would you feel? And this is a hard question, right? Because we're here talking about boundaries. But how would you feel if this person called you 5 times and then when you went to call them back, they didn't pick up the phone, you found out they took their own life?
I'd feel shitty.
And I'm not,
And
and I don't want
but
to, and hold on, but I
yeah.
don't want to make it seem like that's a justification to pick up the 5 phone calls or, so I don't want anybody to take it that way. I'm just saying
No.
if they're just calling for some bullshit and they, 'cause I get phone calls and I'm sure you get the same phone calls I
Oh
get,
yeah.
where you ain't talking about shit. You know what I'm saying? You ain't
Yeah.
talking about nothing that's important. You ain't talking about nothing. I mean, like me and you, there's
Yeah.
days when me and you talk once a day. Me and you talk 3 times a day. There's days that we're playing phone tag all day.
There's days I
And
don't talk to you for like a month and it's like,
there's
what the hell you
never been a
doing?
mother. There's never been a day that we talked about that. You're exaggerating. That's never happened. Like that is such. He's a drama queen because that's never happened. But but my point to that is that yes, we have to set boundaries. We have to do that. We have to do all that. But it's important to find out the why, understand the why,
Yeah.
because there's a difference between a toxic situation and then there's a difference between a legitimate situation where a person, some people don't have nobody they can confide in, and that's real shit. That's why I started this podcast. That's why I started my whole journey on this mental health shit. Why I do what I do. Um, but that I just want to say that is people's perception because that's the argument I always get from people like, oh, you make time for things that are important to you. You're right. It's not to say that you're not important to me. It's just to say on the list of importance, you're not. You know what I'm saying? Only because I'm
Yeah.
trying to accomplish. I tell people that are close to me all the time, like if you're waiting for me to be not busy, you're gonna die waiting because I'm busy every single day of my life. And I'm always trying to do something. I'm always trying to better myself. I'm always, doing something to be better. And sometimes I forget to take me time. I forget, I think I called you up a couple weeks ago and I was like, bro, I need a bro day. Like I just need to get away for
Yeah.
a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I haven't had it in a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
yeah.
at that moment I felt like, wow, like shit, I mean, I always knew I really didn't have a lot of close friends. But it was like at that moment, I really felt obviously, we all in our circle have currently been through a situation that we're not going to talk about on this podcast,
Yeah.
but it's just one of those feelings where I felt like, damn, yeah, I got my family around me, but I needed my boys. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I need my boy, and 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 sometimes that's the case. You know,
Just to be able to kick it, laugh, like, and it
right?
may
Not
not
talk about
even,
shit. We don't even
nah,
have to do shit.
no,
You know what I'm
it's
saying? We
not talking
don't,
about what's going on. It's just to
yeah,
give the mind a different scene and to refresh.
right,
Just
right.
is we
Because
get so
that's
stuck up in these ongoing routines that, like, they might be good routines, but you do get tired of them, and you need that little bit of offset to refresh and let the brain see something different.
because we all feel guilty when we say no.
Yeah.
I can have a plan, like, we got, me and you talked about this weekend or this Friday or whatever, and then somebody will come and, whether it's you or whoever else that we're planning to chill with, and then it's like, okay, something came up, right? Understandably, life happens, whatever, whatever, but we're all feel guilty about saying no. And I think that's where we have to read the room. Like, there's boundaries that absolutely have to be set, and then there's things that we just have no control over. Things happen. We understand that.
Yeah.
Just because I love you doesn't mean I can't say no to you. I'm not abandoning you. I just need to do something different. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I just need to, and let me be clear about that, because I know the women on here might take that the wrong way, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sometimes you need you time. Sometimes, bro, I'm gonna be real, and I know you do it too. I know friends of ours do it too. Where sometimes we just I do it. Sometimes I get on my bike and I'll go somewhere.
Oh
I
yeah.
ride aimlessly by myself, like, and I do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I just, like I said it in my podcast, that throttle has saved my life more than any person on the face of this earth. Like,
Listen,
you know what I'm saying?
dude, then that's the truth. And on top, listen, as much as that bike has almost taken my life, it has saved
Oh
me
yeah,
way
for
more.
sure, for sure, for sure, for
And dude,
sure.
I'll tell you, like, taking those rides, and I'll just click in GPS sometimes. Sometimes I don't even have the GPS. I'm just, let me go find something. And I'll ride out to somewhere. I'm like, man, this is nice scenery. I'm stopping right here. And I just sit there and just chill and enjoy my time, not thinking about nothing, not trying to break up everything in my brain, just enjoy the moment. Because that's like one of the biggest things that people don't realize is, dude, when you think too much into the future or you dwell too much into the past and you're not living present, it destroys you. And and,
Absolutely.
and just even jumping back into the boundaries with yourself is building a boundary of, hey, let me not indulge too much this way into the future. And also, let me not divulge too much into my past. Yeah, you can do a little bit here and there and do a little bit towards there, but dude, you have to live in present, because if you don't,
The
as
past
I'm,
the past has to stay in the past. I'm not
yeah,
saying, you guys hear me talk about shadowproof and facing those demons, and I say face those demons from a perspective of
self reflect.
you gotta self reflect. You gotta be able to deal with it. But it doesn't mean stay there, right? The past is in the past for a reason. And then when you, like you said, focusing too far into the future, you're not enjoying the present. Your life's passing you by. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get so focused on our day to day, like, we have to do this, we have to get this accomplished, I have to get to. And I was watching this show recently, and it's one of these crazy shows, irrelevant to what the show is. The point is, the guy's working himself to death, build a new business, very successful, and and his wife just told him, like, yo, when is enough enough? Like, you're successful. Like, when is enough enough? And it really made me think, like, you know, not to say that I'm in the best place of my life. I think I'm in a very good place, mentally, career wise. I still got a lot of work to do, but we have to realize enough is enough. Sometimes we got to take a step back and take a moment to enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment, because again, tomorrow's not promised. Nobody ever wakes up and says, "Oh shit, today's my last day." No, nobody knows when that day's coming. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So think about how you spend a whole day. Oh, I got to do this appointment. I got to see this client. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then shit, all in all, you'd be like, oh, one thing I tell my sons all the fucking time is don't wait for tomorrow. Well, don't wait to tomorrow for what you could do today. Like get that done today because you never know what tomorrow's gonna bring, and that's a reality. I've lived. That's how my life. I mean, bro, that military instilled that in me because there was no waiting, dog. It was just we got to do it now. We got to get it done. We got to accomplish the mission. That's it. And if we don't do that, we don't enjoy. Yes, we have things to accomplish. We have a mission on earth. If you want to get religious and biblical and all that stuff, yeah, we have something to accomplish. We were sent here for a reason, but at the same time, and I truly believe that to an extent, and I'm not getting into the whole religious concept of it, but my point of that is that we still gotta enjoy lives. We
Yeah.
focus so much on the destination that we forget to enjoy the journey. Ooh, I just
Yeah.
dropped a gem for
And
you. Go ahead, write that
dude,
down, Kyle. I just dropped a gem. We
yeah,
focus so much on the destination that we forget to enjoy the journey, bro.
dude, and the journey is the best part. And you're not the first person I've heard that from. And I got told, and it's actually my barber. My barber.
I'll tell your
I'm
barber
like,
that he owes me money because I'm about to patent that tomorrow.
I will too. And he'll go for it, and I'll buy from you. And he has that good energy. But no, I'm like, I was talking to him one day and we were just chopping up. I'm working, I'm doing irrigation at the time, and we're chopping it up on the phone. I'm like, dude, I can't wait till I get there, and I can't wait to do this and just have this. And I'm talking about the destination of where I want to be. And he's like, dude, it sounds great. He said, but are you enjoying the journey? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm like, once I get there, I'll be happy. He's like, nah, dude. He said, you're thinking too far into the future, and I preach, don't look too far into the future. And I'm sitting there talking about the future. This is where I'm gonna be. Dude, I lose myself sometimes still, even though I'm trying to stay present, enjoy that journey. Like you have to. As much as you want to be at that destination, because once you get to that destination, you then have another journey to go through to get to wherever you want to get to
Yeah.
next.
And we're just
Because
and
it
that's
doesn't
that's
stop there.
that's the thing that we get to this destination, then we worried about the next step. Think about our trip, right? So
Yeah.
just to give everybody a little context, me, Kyle, and another friend of ours, amongst a bunch of other people, irrelevant to who they are, we went on. We had a planned trip, and me, Kyle, and our other friend, we already were friends, but we really became close on this particular trip. And it wasn't the destination; it was
No,
everything in between. Like
no,
everything
because
in between is what made it so dope,
and the
right?
best part is like we had this plan of, hey, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do with this is what we're gonna do. But honestly, none
None
of
of
it
that
really
shit
aligned
happened.
to no, it was just really we enjoyed the journey. We weren't worried about this destination, we gotta go to this one and that one. We literally
Yeah.
just enjoyed the journey, and then we got to this destination that was better than any of the ones we planned.
Yep, yep. That's
Like,
exactly. Because that, like, I would have never thought, like, I think that was, even though obviously, we dealt with a lot of situations, but I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens
yeah.
for a reason, and I truly believe that, for me, at least for me, and I can say that, like, for me, like, I never really had a lot of close friends. I had a really small circle when I was coming up, and that was in, my street pharmaceutical days. I had a small circle by design. Even in the military, I was on that small circle stuff. Like, past that, like for me, I've always been about quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
And for me, that put me in a space where I was just like, damn, like I'm gonna keep it real. You two that I became so close to on that trip, I would have never thought months before that that we would be as close as we are today. Like
Oh no, me
for
neither.
real, I would have
Like,
never thought.
no, I'm right there with you. And you know, I want to bring this up. So, like me. So you said you had a small circle, and like I have my small circle, but everyone like I go out, I know everybody, and it's like, I mean, when I'm with, let's say, a sister, or I bring a cousin, my brother or my cousin from up north come down here, and they're like, "Man, dude, you got so many friends," and he's in his head like, "Yo, these are all his friends." And I literally have to sit people down sometimes, and I go, "No, there's a difference between friends and just people you know." I said, "You can
That's
know
real.
people, and you can still enjoy their time. It's not like they're just, oh, this some rando." No, you can know people and enjoy their time when you're around, but they're not my friends. They're not the ones I'm going to go call on because I don't trust them. I don't know them. I ain't going to call on them. And most of the time, those so called friends are the ones that will, most of the time, they only call, like, I'll tell you from my experience, most of the time, those so called friends that from the outsider's view, it's, oh, they're your friends. The only time they call me is when they have an issue with their septic system because that's what I do.
Right, right.
So other than that, I don't get a yo happy New Year's or yo happy
And then they want a
Thanksgiving.
discount because you their friend.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. And it's like,
diabolical. That's the
you
and
know,
that's a patented word too. I want to let everybody that's listening know. If
yeah,
I hear anybody, it's
diabolical.
$5 for everybody that says diabolical.
But yeah, and that was a boundary I had to set because I'll tell you, going back to like when I was, I know it's gonna sound crazy, when I was 21 and I was only like 5 years ago. I know that was like 100 years ago for you, but hey, um, no, back when I was like 21, and especially like I was able to actually drink and go downtown and do things. And it's like everyone coming up to me. I'm thinking they're my friends, like this, that, and the third. I'm like, yo, I got all these friends. And don't get me wrong, they would hit me up, yo, you coming out, you coming out, you coming out. Well, shoot, at the time, 21, what I was doing for work, making really good money. And I'm a gift giver out of just anybody. I will, oh, hey, you rounds on me. So what they expect is when I come out, I'm the one that's going to buy some rounds, but I never saw it in return. And it's not that I wanted it, but after a while, I realized, no, these aren't my friends. They're the people I can go party with and have a good time. Yeah.
It's a transactional
But,
relationship.
but they're not the ones that
Right. It's
I can
transactional,
call
bro.
on. Yeah. And
People
that's it.
even in relationships.
So
Like
go for
I feel
it.
bad. I feel bad for you young cats that got to be with these around these young chicks nowadays. Excuse me, these
Oh,
young females. I apologize, and I'm
don't
not saying
apologize.
every one of them. I'm not saying every one of you young females, but most of
No,
y'all, right?
most.
I'm gonna say most of y'all. Y'all just, it's crazy how it's easy for someone. What are you gonna do for me? Okay,
Yeah.
I truly believe on one aspect, on one part of me, I believe, okay, there's got to be a give and take in any relationship,
Yeah.
friendship, partnership, whatever that is. But at what point do you become a fucking leech?
Yeah.
Right? Like at what point, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so many people think that, and the problem is we have so many men endorsing that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got money, he broke. You want to pay her bills? Go ahead, bro. Like, that's straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
Yeah.
because I'm not him. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying? You,
listen.
I'm not
I
him,
just
boo.
I just went through that, and it's like, and the girl was like, "So wait, what are we?" I was like, we're just chit chatting. Like, this is all it is. I said, I gotta get to know you. I I'm not just gonna jump like,
But what we doing? Bro,
yeah,
I'm the type, listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say I've never been to a strip club or that I've never enjoyed a strip club. I'm not gonna lie and say that because that'd be a lie. It's never been my thing though, and I'm gonna tell you why. No matter how any man looks at it, you end up paying for it regardless. I don't care
yeah,
what you say, you end up paying
yeah,
for it. So you're paying for it eventually. But I'm not okay. First of all, first thing, I think me and you had this conversation recently. First thing is, would I look at this female if she was fully clothed on the street? Most of the time, I'm going to say no, right? You're just looking because you see her half naked and she's shaking her ass or whatever the situation may be. I know
yeah.
we're like squirreling off topic here, but this is
I know.
also part of boundaries. This is also part of boundaries, ladies and gentlemen, right? And then you're gonna flirt with me, but you ain't flirting with me. You just think I got money because of the way I look or whatever. You think I'm a sucker or whatever the situation is. Your job, but just like you're groping on me or touching me and all that stuff, you've been touching on 75 other gross ass dudes out there cleaning septic tanks all day, and you want to come rub on me.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, it's money, baby. It's money.
so, so my point is that you know I've had even in friendships, I had so many conversations with people, and I've been like, "Yo, let's build something together." You know what I'm saying? Let's do this together. Listen, I'm guilty because I do I used to. I don't do it all. I don't do it now. But I used to always put. I used to test people, and I used to be like, okay, well, if this person does this, I know they're real, and that's not fair because sometimes we set expectations a little bit too high for people that they're just really not able to attain. But to some extent, like if I'm constantly telling you, yo, I'm showing you I'm your friend, I'm showing you I'm that dude, I'm showing you whatever, and that shit ain't getting reciprocated, I'm wasting my time. You get
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And then people get offended when you start pulling back. You get what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then they don't want to take accountability. You know what I'm saying? Then they want to be on some like surprise shit. Like, oh, you pulled back away from me, or you well, I mean, I'm trying and you ain't reciprocating. So if you ain't reciprocating, and that goes back to the part where the not the boundary, but the expectation or the yeah, the expectation is set, the bar set too high, right? You know the situation, you know what it is. Let's communicate. Why not communicate with me instead of playing games? And I think that's where we're at in so many things. Is like it's always a fucking ulterior motive, dog.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like just be real on your intentions. You know what I'm saying? Just keep
yeah.
it a buck. Just keep it a buck. Hey, Kyle, I'm calling you today because no, like I didn't call you today and be like, yo, Kyle, I'm coming down to your spot this weekend and because I want you to buy me some drinks. No, I called you. I said, bro, I just want to chill. I don't give a fuck if we don't do nothing. Like, I just want to
Yeah,
come chill. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm on. I'm gonna ride my bike. It's gonna take me X amount of time to get there. We're gonna chop it up. Whatever happens, happens type shit.
yeah.
Not
And we're going
everything
to just
has to be
enjoy the journey.
transactional, bro.
No.
Like, and that's what I loved about our trip was, bro, it was just from the fucking cowboy shop that you made me go to, which I never thought I would go, like to the cornfields that we were in the middle of and the tractors and shit that we seen up there. Like to
or
me, that was just the dopest
the
shit.
2 lane road that was just a 1 lane. I don't know
The
how
two
we
lane,
got
the
past the
2 lane
Tesla.
road that was a motorcycle lane, a motorcycle lane
Yeah.
road.
Not even a motorcycle lane. It was a bicycle lane.
Yo, that shit
Oh,
was
in
crazy.
the
That shit
middle
was
of
crazy.
nowhere.
That shit was crazy. But we had a good time though. We
Oh,
had
it
a
was
good
a
time.
blessing. It was a
But
blessing.
I'm gonna uh I'm gonna wrap this up. We definitely doing this again, Kyle. I had a great
Yeah.
time. We
Oh
definitely
no,
gonna do this
a
again. We
hundred
definitely
percent.
we definitely gonna do this again. I appreciate it. Um, as always,
Well,
I appreciate. Go ahead. Go ahead.
let's just say we'll do it again only if the viewers like, subscribe, and
Yeah,
keep
that's what I'm
following us.
talking about.
Because
If you
if
like,
not,
you know what I'm saying,
I'm gonna set
your
a
favorite.
boundary with you right now.
I'm
If
about
we
to
don't
set
get at least
boundaries. No
one,
more podcasts if
I
you
ain't
guys don't
coming.
start
If we don't have
liking,
one new
subscribe.
person,
Look, and check this out. Check this out. On some real shit, like I had a couple people ask me, like, "Hey, why don't you do a video podcast so people can see you just like everybody else?" And blah blah blah. Now y'all got no excuses. Not only did I do a video podcast, but I also brought a guest. And I want to continue to do this. Maybe me and Kyle do this together and we have multiple guests. I don't know where this is going. You guys know I don't edit none of my videos. This is just we started, we have a conversation before, and we running through it, real raw and uncut shit.
yeah.
So
And don't
you
be hating
already
on
know
my interrogation
I just want
room.
to I'm gonna say it again because I said it in the beginning. I said it in my life. I am your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. I want to let you know that. So, so seriously though, I appreciate all you guys who continue to listen. Please like, share, and subscribe. Like, it's important. Um, I'll leave you guys with this. You don't have to justify your boundaries. You don't have to apologize for protecting your mental health or your mental space or emotional space for that matter. And I'm gonna leave you guys with this. If you could talk to somebody or speak to somebody directly who feels afraid to set boundaries, what would you tell them? And I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna shoot for the stars here and say a vast majority of all of you listeners, including ourselves, myself and Kyle, that conversation needs to be had with you personally. And I mean us personally. You guys have to ask yourself that question. If you was sitting in front of yourself and you were and being afraid to set boundaries, what would you tell yourself? Why is that important to you? So I want you guys to think about that. As always, I'm gonna say it again. You better hit that damn like button and you better share my shit. Well, we gonna set a boundary. Me and Kyle, we not doing no more podcasts. We gonna. So you guys have a great evening. I appreciate you guys and good night and stay
Stay
shadowproof.
shadowproof.